When aliens met human warships for the first time, their sensors went haywire. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so divided. 6 months had passed since humans appeared in Council space. 6 months since everything changed. The debates had raged for weeks, and today would bring a final decision. High Chancellor Vorn looked tired. 3,000 years of relative peace had not prepared the Council for what humans represented. Now he faced the hardest choice of his long career. "The vote before us is simple," Vorn announced. "Do we grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, or do we maintain their current observer status?" Ambassador Kelrick stood immediately. "I vote against full membership. The humans are too dangerous, too willing to use violence. In 6 months, they've destroyed more ships than our military has in 10 years. They fight wars we tried to avoid." Science Officer Mirax rose to counter. "They destroyed pirate ships that threatened civilians. They secured trade routes that have been dangerous for decades. They did what we couldn't do because we were too afraid to act decisively." The Orlan representative spoke softly. "I fear what humans will do to our culture. We built the Council on principles of peace and negotiation. They solve problems with weapons and force. If we accept them, we accept their methods." Ambassador Tajan had been granted permission to speak at this session. He stood, his posture respectful but firm. "You're right to fear change. We are different. We come from a world that taught us harsh lessons, but we're not asking you to become like us. We're offering to work together. You have wisdom we lack. You have 3,000 years of peaceful cooperation. We have strength you need. Together we can build something better than either of us could alone." Admiral Kyrus stood and the chamber quieted. His opinion carried weight. 6 months ago I was sent to investigate humanity. I was prepared to recommend rejecting them entirely. But I learned something important. The galaxy is not as safe as we believed. We grew comfortable in our peace. We forgot that threats exist beyond our borders. The Raktha pirates operated freely for 30 years. Other dangers lurk in unexplored space. We were lucky that humans found us when they were seeking friends. He paused, letting that sink in. What happens when the next species from a harsh world finds us? What if they're not peaceful? What if they see our weakness and choose to exploit it? Humans showed us that we're not prepared for that possibility. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Vorn called for the vote. "All in favor of granting humanity full council membership?" The tally appeared on the holographic display. 7 species voted yes. 4 voted no. 1 abstained. "The motion passes," Vorn declared. "But humanity will hold a special designation, Protectorate Species. You are both protected by Council law and sworn to protect Council peace. Do you accept these terms, Ambassador Tajan?" "We accept, Chancellor. We're honored to join you." Fleet Admiral Sanghoon. O arrived at Council headquarters 2 weeks later to establish the Joint Military Command structure. He was 60 years old, decorated veteran of 3 wars and known for speaking uncomfortable truths. The military integration meeting brought together commanders from all Council species. Most had never worked with humans before. Admiral Sanghoon stood at the head of the conference table. "I know many of you are concerned about human military doctrine. You see us as violent, aggressive, dangerous. You're not entirely wrong." The alien officers shifted uncomfortably. "But let me explain why we fight the way we do. Earth never let us be weak. Predators hunted us. Weather killed us. Diseases destroyed our populations. We survived by being tougher than everything trying to kill us. That made us good at warfare, very good. Maybe too good by your standards." A Vrix commander spoke up. "Your casualties in the Helion 4 operation were minimal. 4 wounded. How do you accept losing people so easily?" "We don't accept it easily. Every life lost hurts, but we accept it as the cost of protecting others. If 4 of my Marines must risk death to save 70,000 civilians, that's not a question. That's our duty. We mourn our losses, but we don't let fear of loss prevent us from acting." "That's so different from how we operate," the Vrix commander admitted. "I know, and I'm not saying you should become like us. But you need to understand that not every species in the galaxy values peace as you do. Some will see your reluctance to fight as weakness. Some will exploit it. We've met species like that. We've fought them. We know how to defeat them." Dr. Unipark started the cultural exchange program with less controversy but equal importance. She brought together human teachers and alien students, creating understanding through education. The biggest misconception aliens have about us is that we enjoy violence. Yuna explained to a class of young aliens from various species. We don't. War is terrible. It scars everyone it touches. But Earth taught us that sometimes violence is necessary to protect what matters. A young Keldon student raised a paw. But your entertainment shows violence. Your stories are about wars and battles. Doesn't that mean you celebrate it? We tell stories about war because it's a huge part of our history. We remember it so we don't forget how terrible it is. We show its costs. We honor those who died. But we also show the bravery, the sacrifice, the moments when people stood up against evil. Those stories teach us what humans can be at our best and worst. The integration continued. Human warships joined Council patrols. Human engineers taught Council species new construction techniques. Human doctors shared medical knowledge from treating injuries in high-gravity environments. But not everyone accepted the change. In the outer territories, a movement grew among species who rejected human influence. They called themselves the Purity Alliance. They believed the Council should return to its original peaceful principles and expel the violent humans. High Chancellor Vorn monitored the movement with concern. Division within the Council could destroy everything they'd built. But he also knew that change always created resistance. 1 year after first contact, Vorn stood at his office window watching ships come and go from the station. Human vessels moved alongside alien ships. Different designs, different philosophies. But working together, Ambassador Tajan joined him, having been summoned for a private meeting. I've been doing this job for 70 years, Vorn said quietly. I've seen the Council face many challenges, but never anything like this. You humans have forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. We didn't mean to disrupt your society, Chancellor. I know, but disruption is what we needed. We had become too comfortable. Too certain that the galaxy was a safe place because we made it safe for ourselves. You showed us that safety is an illusion we maintained by ignoring threats. Vorn turned to face the human ambassador. Do you know what frightens me most about your people? Our weapons? No, your acceptance of reality. You see the galaxy as it is, dangerous, unpredictable, harsh. We see it as we wish it to be, peaceful, ordered, kind. Your worldview is more accurate than ours. That terrifies me. Before Tajan could respond, alarms sounded throughout the station. Both men rushed to the command center. Report, Vorn demanded. Long-range sensors have detected an unknown signal from beyond Council borders. Deep space in unexplored territory. The pattern doesn't match any known language or communication protocol. Tajan felt his heart race. Another first contact. Possibly, Vorn said. Or possibly something worse. Fleet Admiral Sang-hoon arrived within minutes. He studied the sensor data with experienced eyes. This signal has been broadcasting for approximately 6 months. It's powerful. Whoever sent it has technology at least equal to ours. Could be a greeting, could be a warning, could be a claim of territory. What do you recommend, Admiral? Vorn asked. Send a joint expedition. Human and Council ships together. Show unity. Show strength. But go prepared for anything. The Council authorized the mission immediately. Captain Jinho volunteered the Indomitable. Commander Daeho brought the Thunderhawk. 5 Council ships joined them, representing different species. As the fleet prepared to depart, Vorn addressed the crews in a live transmission. You carry the hopes of all our civilizations, human and alien, working together, facing the unknown as partners. Whatever you find out there, remember that you represent the best of what we can achieve together. In the Indomitable's ready room, Captain Jinho gathered his senior staff. We don't know what we're going to find. Could be peaceful explorers like us. Could be something that makes the Raktha pirates look friendly. Stay sharp. Stay ready. And remember, we're not alone anymore. We have allies watching our backs. Lieutenant Hana checked her tactical systems one final time. Sir, our sensors are showing normal readings. Ready for departure. The joint fleet moved out, leaving Council space behind. They traveled for 3 weeks toward the source of the mysterious signal. As they approached, the transmissions grew stronger. Finally, they arrived at a dead system. No planets, no asteroids, just debris from worlds that had been destroyed long ago. And in the center, a massive structure, artificial, ancient, still broadcasting its signal after who knew how many years. Science Officer Myrax analyzed the structure from the Council science vessel. It's a beacon. A warning. The language is mathematical. I can translate it. Everyone waited while she worked. Finally, her voice came across all channels, shaking slightly. When aliens met human warships for the first time, their sensors went haywire. The Galactic Council chamber was older than most civilizations. 12 species had built it together, creating a symbol of peace and cooperation that had lasted for 3,000 years. Today, that peace felt fragile. High Chancellor Vorn stood at the center podium, his tall frame casting shadows across the circular room. Representatives from every major species watched the holographic display floating above them. The sensor data from Commander Thalan's encounter played on repeat. "This cannot be accurate," declared Ambassador Kelrix from the Manthar Collective. His insect-like features clicked in agitation. No species could generate this much power safely. Science Officer Mirax stood at the presentation console. She had been brought directly from the patrol fleet to explain the findings. Her soft voice carried clearly in the chamber. "The data has been verified 17 times. The unknown vessel operates a fusion reactor at temperatures exceeding 15 million degrees. They contain it using magnetic fields and cool it with liquid metals. The engineering is crude but effective." "Crude?" Vorn asked. "You call this crude?" "Yes, Chancellor. They're using brute force solutions instead of elegant energy manipulation. It's like using a hammer when we would use precision tools." "But it works." A representative from the peaceful Orlan species spoke up, his blue skin paling. "What about their hull construction? The report says they use refined heavy metals. Those materials are toxic, dangerous to harvest. Why would anyone build with them?" Mirax brought up another display. "Because they're strong, very strong. Our ships use lightweight composite materials designed for efficiency. Their ship is built like a fortress. It can probably withstand impacts that would destroy our vessels." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were curious, most were afraid. Admiral Kairos, head of Council Security, stood from his seat. "I recommend we treat this as a potential threat until proven otherwise. We should send a military fleet to investigate their origin point." Vorn considered this. Before he could respond, alarms sounded throughout the chamber. "Chancellor," a security officer called out, "we have an unknown vessel entering Council space. It's broadcasting a request for peaceful contact." Everyone in the chamber froze. "Show me," Vorn commanded. The holographic display changed. A new ship appeared, different from the first but built with the same impossible specifications. This one was smaller, clearly designed for diplomatic purposes rather than military patrol. But the sensors still screamed warnings about its power generation and dense construction. Aboard the HSS Sejong, Ambassador Taejun Lee stood on the bridge watching the alien station grow larger on the view screen. He was 53 years old, with gray beginning to show in his hair. He had been a diplomat for 30 years, but never imagined he would be humanity's first representative to an alien civilization. "Ambassador, we're receiving multiple hails," the communication officer reported. "Different frequencies, different protocols. They're trying very hard to talk to us." Dr. Yuna Park stepped beside him. She was younger, barely 30, but brilliant in xenolinguistics. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, studying every theory about alien communication. "Let me work with their signals. I can build a translation matrix if they give me enough data." Taejun nodded. "Do it. Captain, maintain position. Let's not frighten them like the Indomitable did." For the next 6 hours, Dr. Yuna worked with the alien communication teams. Mathematics came first, prime numbers, basic physics. Slowly, they built a bridge between human language and the Galactic Council's universal translator. When the first clear transmission came through, Dr. Yuna laughed with relief. "We have it! We have translation!" In the council chamber, High Chancellor Vorn listened to the first human voice in galactic history. "Greetings from the United Nations of Earth and her colonies. I am Ambassador Taejun Lee. We come in peace seeking friendship and understanding." The voice was strange to their ears. The tones carried weight and directness that most council species found uncomfortable. But the words were clear, peaceful, friendly. "This is High Chancellor Vorn of the Galactic Council. You are welcome here, Ambassador. We have many questions about your people. And we have many questions about yours, Chancellor. Perhaps we can learn together." 3 days later, Ambassador Tajin and Dr. Yuna stood in the council chamber explaining humanity. The representatives listened with growing disbelief. "You're saying your homeworld has gravity 3 times stronger than most inhabited planets?" Ambassador Kelrix asked. "That's correct," Dr. Yuna confirmed. "Earth has what we call 1 standard gravity. Most of your species evolved on worlds with 0.3 to 0.4 gravity. Our higher gravity shaped how we developed technology. It also shaped your biology," Mirax added, studying the human genetic data they had provided. "Your muscle density is remarkable. Your bone structure is incredibly strong. You evolved to survive in conditions that would crush most of us." Tajin nodded. "Earth is what we call a death world. Volcanic activity, earthquakes, violent storms, dangerous predators. Our evolution was a constant struggle against hostile conditions." Admiral Kyrus leaned forward. "Tell us about your weapons. Why do you use kinetic projectiles instead of energy weapons?" "Because they work," Tajin said simply. "A solid object moving fast enough will destroy almost anything. We learned this principle throwing rocks at prey millions of years ago. We just made the rocks smaller and faster. But the engineering required to accelerate projectiles to hypersonic speeds is the same engineering we use for everything else. High energy, heavy materials, brute force solutions. It's how we solve problems." High Chancellor Vorn stood, and the chamber quieted. "Ambassador Lee, I must speak plainly. Your technology frightens us. Your warships read like dreadnoughts to our sensors. Your power generation exceeds our military vessels. Your construction methods use materials we consider too dangerous to gather in large quantities. How can we trust that you come in peace?" Tajin met his gaze steadily. "Because we choose peace, Chancellor. Yes, we have powerful weapons. We needed them to survive on Earth. We needed them to protect our colonies from pirates and raiders as we expanded into space. But having weapons doesn't mean we want to use them against you. We came here seeking friends, not enemies," Dr. Yuna added. "We understand we're different. We evolved in harsh conditions that made us tough. But that same harshness taught us the value of cooperation. Humans survive by working together. We're offering that same cooperation to you." The council debated for hours after the humans left the chamber. Some species wanted to accept humanity immediately. Others wanted more proof. Some wanted to deny them membership entirely. Finally, High Chancellor Vorn called for a decision. "I propose we send an observation team to human space. Let them see Earth with their own eyes. Let them observe human society and military capabilities in a controlled environment. Then we will know the truth about these beings." The vote passed. Admiral Kyrus would lead the expedition, with Science Officer Mirax and several other specialists. They would travel to Earth aboard human vessels and see the death world for themselves. Ambassador Tajin accepted the decision with a smile. "We welcome your observers, Chancellor. Come see our home. Meet our people. We have nothing to hide." Later, alone with Dr. Yuna on the Sejong, Taijun's smile faded. "Do you think they'll understand?" Yuna asked. "I don't know. How do you explain Earth to species that evolved on paradise worlds? How do you make them understand that we didn't build warships because we're aggressive? We built them because we had to. We show them the truth, everything, the good and the bad. Then we let them decide." Tajin looked out at the alien station, at the peaceful civilization humanity had stumbled into. "I just hope the truth doesn't frighten them more." In his quarters, Admiral Kyrus prepared for the expedition to Earth. He reviewed every piece of data about humanity. The more he learned, the more concerned he became. These humans came from hell and made it their home. They thrived in conditions that would kill most species. They built weapons from the same principles they used to build everything else. What kind of species did that create? What kind of civilization? He would find out soon enough. The galaxy was about to learn what humans really were. When aliens met human warships for the first time, their sensors went haywire. The fringe worlds lived in constant fear. These outer colonies had been raided by the Raktha pirates for almost 30 years. The Galactic Council had tried to stop them 3 times. Each time, the pirates simply scattered, hid among asteroid fields, and returned when the Council fleet left. Pirate Lord Skrax enjoyed his power. His confederation controlled 50 warships and terrorized dozens of systems. The Council was too soft to fight properly. They valued every life too much. They could be threatened, manipulated, made to back down. Today, he would prove it again. The civilian station orbiting Helion 4 had 70,000 inhabitants, families, workers, merchants, all protected by the Council's promise of security. That promise meant nothing when Skrax's ships appeared. "Take control of the station," Skrax ordered. "Kill anyone who resists. Send the demands to the Council. They'll pay." The Raktha pirates swarmed the station. Their boarding parties killed 20 security officers in the first minutes. The survivors surrendered quickly. The civilians were herded into the central habitation zones and held hostage. Skrax sent his message to High Chancellor Vorn. 10 million credits or the station dies. You have 3 days. In the council chamber, Vorn read the demand with tired eyes. This had happened before. They would negotiate. They would pay. The pirates would release some hostages and take others. Then in a few months it would happen again. "How long until our fleet can arrive?" Vorn asked Admiral Kyrus. 3 days, Chancellor. If we divert the nearest battle group now, do it. But don't engage. We need to negotiate for time. Across the room, Ambassador Tajan stood up. There's a human task force in that sector. They could be there in 6 hours. Admiral Kyrus checked his tactical display. The Human Rapid Response Force. 5 ships under Commodore Sianwu Quan. But Chancellor, we haven't authorized human military action in council space. Vorn hesitated. The decision felt heavy. Once he gave humans permission to operate militarily, it changed everything. But 70,000 lives hung in the balance. Contact Commodore Quan. Tell him he's authorized to respond. Aboard the HSS Valiant, Commodore Sianwu Quan received the transmission. He was 52 years old, gray-haired, and had fought pirates in 3 different systems before joining the United Fleet. His task force consisted of 2 destroyers, 2 frigates, and 1 marine assault ship. Helm, set course for Helion 4. Maximum combat speed. I want us there in 5 hours. Sir, the Council said not to engage, his communication officer reminded him. The Council said they need time to negotiate. I'm giving them a better option. Tactical, start planning our assault. I want to know every angle on that station, every weak point, every possible entry vector. Major Jiwan Nam commanded the Marine complement aboard the assault ship. She was 36 years old, muscular, and had led boarding actions against smugglers and raiders for a decade. She gathered her 200 Marines in the briefing room. We're hitting a civilian station held by pirates. 70,000 hostages. The bad guys have been doing this for years and think they're untouchable. We're going to teach them different. The Marines checked their equipment. Powered armor. Magnetic boots for zero-gravity operations. Kinetic weapons loaded with ammunition designed to penetrate but not over-penetrate. Protecting civilians beyond the targets. Breaching charges. Cutting tools. Everything needed for close-quarters combat in a space station. 5 hours later, the human task force dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Helion 4 system. Immediately, the Raktha pirates detected them. On the bridge of his flagship, Skrax watched his sensors malfunction, just like Commander Thalen's had months before. The readings made no sense. 5 ships, but their power signatures read like 50. What am I looking at? Skrax demanded. His sensor officer struggled with the controls. Unknown contacts, Lord Skrax. The power readings are enormous. They're using fusion reactors. The ships are built from heavy metals. I've never seen anything like this, Skrax laughed. Another council bluff. They're trying to scare us. Send them the same message. Leave now or the hostages die. Commodore Sianwu received the pirate transmission and deleted it without responding. All ships, weapons free. Target any vessel that shows hostile intent. Try to disable them, but if they fight back, destroy them. Marines, you launch in 90 seconds. The human task force moved fast. The destroyers and frigates spread out, surrounding the pirate fleet. The Raktha ships outnumbered them 10-1, but numbers didn't matter when one side couldn't fight properly. They're powering weapons, the pirate sensor officer screamed. Skrax saw the human ships light up his tactical display. All ships fire at will. Destroy these fools. The pirates opened fire with energy weapons. Elegant beam weapons designed to disable ships without destroying them. Because pirates wanted to capture vessels, not obliterate them. The human shields absorbed the first hits easily. Then the humans fired back. Missiles launched from the frigates, not energy weapons, physical projectiles that tracked targets through every evasive maneuver. The pirate ships tried to dodge, but the missiles were relentless. They slammed into hulls with explosive force. The destroyers used their railguns at close range. Hypersonic tungsten rounds punched through the pirate shields like they weren't there. One hit from a railgun could cut a ship in half. They're using kinetic weapons. A pirate captain screamed over the communication net. "Our shields can't stop them." Scrax watched his fleet start to fall apart. 12 ships destroyed in the first 2 minutes. Another 8 damaged and drifting. The humans fought with brutal efficiency. No warnings, no mercy for those who kept fighting. All ships retreat. "Get out of—" A missile hit his flagship. The bridge depressurized. Scrax died along with his command crew. While the space battle raged, Major Jiwan led her Marines toward the station. Breaching pods launched from the assault ship, small armored vehicles that carried 10 Marines each. They attached to the station's outer hull and cut through. Breach successful. All teams move in. The Marines entered the station in 20 different locations simultaneously. They moved through corridors with practiced efficiency. Their armor's sensors showed them where the pirates were positioned. Their weapons were ready. The first pirate team they encountered opened fire. Energy weapons splashed against Marine armor. The powered suits protected the humans inside. The Marines returned fire with kinetic weapons. Short controlled bursts. Pirates fell. Team 3, we have hostages in Section 12. 30 pirates holding them. Copy. Breaching now. The Marines used shaped charges to blow through the bulkhead. They stormed in before the pirates could react. Stun grenades. Smoke. Chaos. In 15 seconds, all 30 pirates were dead or unconscious. Major Jiwan reached the Central Command Center. 20 pirates had barricaded themselves inside, threatening to kill the station administrator if anyone approached. "This is Major Jiwan Nam of the Earth United Fleet. Surrender now and you'll live. Come any closer and we kill them all." Jiwan nodded to her breaching specialist. "Do it." Cutting torches burned through the ceiling. Marines dropped from above. The firefight lasted 8 seconds. All 20 pirates died. The hostages were bruised but alive. Throughout the station, the same scene repeated. Marines breached every pirate position. Some pirates surrendered. Most fought and died. The Marines were efficient and precise, but they didn't hesitate to kill when necessary. 2 hours after arriving, the battle was over. Commodore Sianwu sent his report to the Council. Hylian 4 station is secure. 70,000 civilians safe. 47 pirate vessels destroyed. Estimated 600 pirate casualties. We took 12 prisoners. Human casualties, 4 wounded, none dead. Awaiting further orders. When the Council fleet arrived a day later, Admiral Kairos found the station calm. Medical teams from the human ships were treating wounded civilians. Engineers were repairing damage. Marines patrolled the corridors, making sure every section was secure. He found Commodore Sianwu on the station's observation deck, watching recovery efforts. "You didn't wait for authorization to engage," Kira said. "You said you needed 3 days to negotiate. I gave those civilians their lives back in 2 hours. I'll accept whatever punishment you think is appropriate." "There won't be punishment, Commodore. The Council is grateful, but I need to understand. How do you fight so effectively?" Sanwu looked at the human ships visible through the viewing port. "We fight to win, Admiral. Not to look good. Not to minimize our own casualties at the expense of victory. Not to be merciful to our enemies while they threaten innocence. We fight like Earth taught us, with overwhelming force applied at the critical moment. The pirates are sending warnings throughout the underworld. They're telling everyone to avoid humans. Good. Maybe that will save lives on both sides." Admiral Kairos studied the human commander. "You're changing the galaxy, Commodore. Pirates who have operated freely for decades are suddenly afraid. Systems that couldn't protect themselves now have hope. But your methods are brutal by our standards? War is brutal, Admiral. Earth never let us forget that. We don't enjoy it, but when we fight to end the threat completely. That's the only way to protect the people we're sworn to defend." When aliens met human warships for the first time, their sensors went haywire. The space near New Sol colony looked peaceful. The blue and green planet below reminded the human colonists of Earth, though slightly smaller and with lighter gravity. Perfect for human expansion. Today it would become a demonstration ground. Admiral Kyrus stood in the observation deck of the Council research vessel, watching human warships assemble in formation. Beside him, Science Officer Mirax recorded everything with her instruments. 5 other Council observers filled the deck, all wearing protective suits adjusted for the higher gravity humans preferred. The human vessels are taking position, Mirax announced. 2 capital ships, 1 destroyer and 1 carrier. Captain Jinho Kim commanded the HSS Indomitable as before. The destroyer hung in space like a dark blade. Next to it, the HSS Thunderhawk dwarfed the smaller vessel. Commander Daeho Shin ran the carrier with precision, his crew of 800 preparing for the demonstration. Council vessel, this is Captain Jinho. We're ready to begin basic maneuvers. Please maintain your current position for safety. Admiral Kyrus activated his communication link. Understood, Captain. Proceed when ready. Jinho turned to his helm officer. Take us to combat acceleration. Standard evasive pattern. The Indomitable moved. Not slowly like most ships, but with sudden violent thrust. The destroyer accelerated at 15 gravities, turning and weaving through space like a fighter craft despite its size. In the Council observation deck, alarms blared. Mirax stared at her readings in disbelief. 15 gravities of acceleration. That crew should be dead. That level of force should crush them. They evolved in 1 gravity, Admiral Kyrus said quietly. Their bodies can handle forces that would kill us. Look at how they move. The Indomitable performed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Sharp turns, sudden stops, changes in direction that would paste most crews against their walls. But humans had evolved running across rough ground, changing direction instantly to chase prey or escape predators. Their bodies and minds could handle forces that alien species simply couldn't. Now watch the carrier, one of the observers said. Commander Daeho had begun his part of the demonstration. The massive Thunderhawk moved slower than the destroyer, but it carried something more impressive. Launch bays opened along its flanks. Fighter launch, Daeho ordered calmly. 48 small craft erupted from the carrier. F-47 Talon strike fighters, each one piloted by a human who had trained for years. Leading them was squadron leader Minji Kang, 28 years old and already a veteran of 3 colony defense actions. Talon Squadron, form up and execute demonstration pattern Alpha, Minji commanded. The fighters moved like a school of fish, perfectly coordinated. They flew in formations that required split-second timing and absolute trust. Then Minji led them toward the nearby planet. They're entering the atmosphere, Mirax reported, her voice showing alarm. Most spacecraft can't safely operate in gravity wells. The alien observers watched as the human fighters dove into New Sol's atmosphere. They flew through clouds. They performed aerobatic maneuvers at supersonic speeds. They demonstrated bombing runs, strafing patterns, and close air support techniques. Your spacecraft can fly in atmosphere? Admiral Kyrus asked over the communication link. Captain Jinho's voice carried a hint of pride. Our fighters can operate in space, in atmosphere, and even underwater if needed. We build them versatile because Earth taught us to adapt. After the fighters returned to the carrier, the weapons demonstration began. Council observers were moving to the asteroid field designated as the target zone, Jinho announced. We will demonstrate our primary kinetic weapon system. The Indomitable positioned itself 10,000 kilometers from a large asteroid. The target was solid iron and nickel, roughly 200 meters across. Big enough to survive most weapons fire. Railgun charged and ready, Lieutenant Hana Choi reported from Tactical. Fire when ready. The railgun mounted along the Indomitable's spine activated. Magnetic coils accelerated a tungsten projectile to a significant fraction of light speed. The round was solid metal, no explosives, no complex systems. Just mass and velocity. It hit the asteroid at hypersonic speed. The impact released energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The asteroid didn't just crack. It vaporized. One moment it existed. The next moment there was only expanding debris and superheated gas. In the Council observation vessel, several observers made sounds of distress. Mirax's readings showed the energy release and she couldn't believe the numbers. They weaponized kinetic energy, she whispered. Just mass and speed. Nothing exotic. Nothing we haven't known about for millennia. But they made it devastating. Admiral Kyrus felt cold despite his protective suit, because they're willing to use brute force solutions. We learned to use precision energy weapons because they're cleaner, more controlled. They use kinetic weapons because they work and they don't care about elegance. The final part of the demonstration was the most revealing. Captain Jinho invited the council observers aboard the Indomitable to tour the ship. They walked through corridors that felt too narrow. Everything was built heavy and compact. The metal walls were thick. The doors were reinforced. The whole ship felt like it was built to take damage and keep functioning. Engineer Hyon Bei met them in the reactor chamber. He was 45 years old with graying hair and burned scars on his hands from years of working with dangerous systems. "Welcome to the heart of the ship," Hyon said cheerfully. "This is our fusion reactor." The council observers looked at the massive cylindrical chamber. Through shielded viewing ports, they could see the glow of contained plasma. "Instruments showed the temperature inside 15 million degrees. How is this possible?" one observer asked. "That heat should melt any containment. Magnetic bottles keep the plasma suspended. It never touches the walls, and we cool the reactor housing with liquid sodium. Keeps everything stable." Mirak stepped closer to the viewing port. "What happens if containment fails?" Hyon shrugged. "We have 6 redundant systems. If one fails, the others take over. If they all fail, well, that's only happened once in our history." "What happened?" Admiral Kiris demanded. "We lost a city. About 60,000 people died. But we learned from it. Made the systems better, safer. Now reactor failures are extremely rare." The casual way he discussed 60,000 deaths shocked the alien observers. To them, that was a catastrophe that would haunt a civilization for generations. To Hyon, it was simply the cost of learning to harness dangerous technology. "You accept such risks?" Admiral Kiris asked. "We accept that progress has costs. Earth never gave us anything safely. We had to fight for every advancement. Thousands died learning to fly. Hundreds died learning to go to space. Many more died learning to use fusion power. But each death taught us lessons. Each lesson made us better. That's how humans advance." Later, as the council observers prepared to leave, Mirax approached Captain Jinho privately. "Your people frighten us," she admitted. "Not because you're aggressive, but because you're so comfortable with danger. You live with risks that would paralyze our civilizations." Jinho nodded slowly. "Earth is a harsh teacher. She kills those who don't learn her lessons. We evolved in a school where failure meant death. It made us tough. Maybe too tough by your standards, but it also made us survivors. What will you do with all this capability? Hopefully make friends. Protect those who need protection. Build a better future for everyone." Jinho smiled slightly. "We didn't come to the stars looking for enemies, science officer. We came looking for neighbors." Admiral Kiris gathered his team and reviewed their findings. The data was clear. Humans were exactly what they claimed to be. Survivors from a death world who built their technology from the same harsh principles that shaped their evolution. "Will you recommend they join the council?" Mirax asked him. "I will recommend that we need them more than they need us," Kiris said quietly. "Our civilization has grown soft in our peace. We've forgotten that the galaxy can be dangerous. These humans remember. They've never forgotten, and I think soon we'll all be grateful they're on our side." When aliens met human warships for the first time, their sensors went haywire. The stars looked different in the Velan trade corridor. Commander Thalen stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the emptiness of space through the viewing screen. His purple skin gleamed under the soft blue lights of the Vrix patrol vessel. Everything seemed normal. Another routine patrol along the border of known space. Then the sensor started screaming. "Commander, we have an unknown contact," his sensor officer called out, her 3 eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. "The readings don't make sense." Thalen moved closer to examine the data. His species had explored space for over 5,000 years. They had encountered hundreds of different civilizations. But this signature looked wrong. The ship was too dense, too heavy. The energy readings flickered between impossibly high and completely normal. "Distance?" Thalen asked. 12,000 kilometers and closing slowly. "They're drifting, sir." Science Officer Mirax stepped forward. She was a Keldan, with soft gray fur and large black eyes that showed her gentle nature. "Commander, the mass readings suggest that vessel is made of heavy metals, refined iron and titanium primarily. I've never seen a ship constructed like this." Thalen felt his confidence return. He'd handled hundreds of first contact situations. This would be no different. "Open all frequencies. Standard greeting protocols." The communication officer worked her controls. The universal translator would handle any language barriers. It always did. Far away, aboard the human destroyer HSS Indomitable, Captain Jin-Ho Kim sat in his command chair reviewing supply reports. His dark hair was cut short in military fashion. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth's United Fleet. He looked tired. 3 months of patrol duty in deep space would do that to anyone. "Captain, we're being hailed," Lieutenant Hana Choi announced from the tactical station. Her eyes narrowed as she studied her screens. "Multiple vessels approaching. Configuration unknown. They don't match any known human or colony ships." Jin-Ho sat up straight. First contact. After 200 years of space travel, humanity had finally found someone else. Or someone had found them. Battle stations. Do not power weapons. "Hana, what's their disposition?" 5 vessels in a standard patrol formation. "They're scanning us heavily, sir. Our electronic warfare suite is detecting multiple sensor sweeps. Open a channel. Let's say hello." The communication officer worked his controls, broadcasting on all standard frequencies. But the human radio signals, the digital encoding, the way humans structured language, none of it matched what the Galactic Council expected. Back on Thalen's ship, the translator produced garbage. Harsh sounds, aggressive tones. The computer kept trying to process it, but the patterns were all wrong. "Sir, I cannot establish communication," the communication officer said nervously. "Their signals are using primitive electromagnetic radiation. The patterns suggest aggression." Mirax shook her head. "That's just their language structure. We need more time to analyze it." But Thalen was already making decisions. Unknown vessel. Impossible construction. Aggressive signals. He had protocols to follow. Power defensive systems. Maintain distance. Continue attempts at communication. The Vrick ship's shields activated, glowing faintly in space. On the Indomitable, Hana's board lit up with warnings. "Captain, they just powered up what looks like defensive shields." Energy signatures increasing across all 5 vessels. Jin-Ho felt his jaw tighten. This was going wrong fast. Neither side could communicate. Both sides were getting nervous. He needed to show capability without showing aggression. Bring the reactor to full power. "I want them to see what we can do." "Maybe they'll understand we're not easy prey." The engineer's voice came through the intercom. "Reactor climbing to 100% output, Captain." The fusion reactor deep in the Indomitable's heart began to burn hotter. Magnetic containment fields held plasma that matched the temperature of a star's core. Power flooded through the ship's systems. The hull, built from refined metals harvested from asteroids, could handle the stress. Humans built things tough because Earth had taught them nothing came easy. On Thalen's ship, every sensor simultaneously went insane. "Commander," the sensor officer shouted. "Power spike from the unknown vessel." "Readings are off the scale. That ship's reactor output exceeds our entire fleet combined." Thalen's confidence shattered. "That's impossible." "Confirm those readings." "Confirmed, sir. The vessel is generating 0.7 terawatts of power. Our flagship generates 0.03 terawatts at maximum." Myrax stared at the data, her scientific mind racing. "They're using fusion." "Direct fusion. The reactor must be operating at temperatures over 15 million degrees. That would vaporize any containment system," Thalen said. "Not if they use magnetic bottles and heavy metal cooling. But the engineering required—" Mirax trailed off. "Commander, what kind of species builds ships like this?" Thalen made his decision. "All ships fall back, maintain defensive posture but increase distance to 50,000 kilometers. We need to report this to the Council immediately." The Vrick's fleet retreated slowly, keeping their shields up and weapons ready. On the Indomitable, Jin-Ho watched them pull back. "Stand down from battle stations. Maintain yellow alert. They're backing off." "Sir, I don't think they understood," Hana said quietly. "We just scared them away." Jin-Ho rubbed his face with both hands. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and they had accidentally frightened them off. The admirals back home would never let him forget this. "Maintain position. Keep broadcasting on all frequencies. Send a mathematics-based greeting. Prime numbers. Something universal." The communication officer nodded and began transmitting simple number sequences. In the Vrick's flagship, Thalen recorded his report for the Galactic Council. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "This is Commander Thalen of the 3rd Patrol Fleet. We have encountered an unknown species at coordinates 77 Mark 331. The vessel displays technology that violates several known laws of physics. Power generation exceeds anything in our database. Hull construction uses dangerous heavy metals. We attempted communication but received only aggressive responses. I have withdrawn my fleet and request immediate guidance from the Council. Whatever these beings are, they are beyond anything we have encountered before." He ended the transmission and looked at Mirax. The Keldan scientist was still studying the sensor data, her expression troubled. "What are you thinking?" Thalen asked her. "I'm thinking that we just met something that evolved in conditions we can barely imagine. Look at their ship, Commander. It's built like armor, heavy, dense, strong. They generate power we would consider suicidal. They communicate in ways that sound harsh to us. What kind of world produces beings like this?" Thalen looked at the distant human ship on his screen. It hung in space like a predator waiting. Dark, powerful, unknown. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but I think the galaxy just became a much more complicated place.